Val, hello everyone. It is I, your boy Jotun Red Wolf, and we are back with a new campaign. I have with me 4 truly amazing and patient people. They have enlisted my services as dungeon master to take them on a quest to guide them throughout a world almost made just for them. So, fantastic. Let me see. How's the music sounding? Sounding good, maybe? Let's see. Might turn it up just a little bit. There we go. So, let me lay the scene for all of you. The air is alive with salt and brine, thick with the tang of the sea and the faint, smoky aroma of roasted fish and spiced mead. The Wolvenok Ocean stretches endlessly before you, its waters shimmering like hammered steel and sapphire in the golden embrace of the midday sun. Waves crash against the docks of Port Chester, sending up sprays of cool mist that cling to the skin. Overhead, gulls wheel and cry, their calls punctuating the relentless rhythm of the harbor. Port Chester rises like a warrior's hymn, a place of beauty carved by strength. The architecture looms both proud and intricate, with pale stone buildings crowned by clay-tiled roofs that burn orange in the sunlight. Grand columns flank broad avenues, their surfaces etched with the tales of gods and heroes locked in battle with sea serpents and winged beasts. Between these towering edifices, the wooden beams of longhouses stretch upward like ships anchored on dry land, their frames adorned with swirling carvings of beasts and waves that seem almost alive. The streets are bustling, alive with emotion and sound. Cobblestones worn smooth by countless generations reflect the sunlight in a subtle sheen, while the clatter of boots and the rattle of wheels add to the symphony of life. Vendors call out their wares. Fresh eel and oysters! Spices from across the sea! Their voices a cacophony of promises and bargains. The air is warm, yet a persistent breeze whispers through the streets, carrying the faint chill of distant horizons. Above it all, the Grand Temple watches over the city, its marbled face gleaming with divine authority. Massive bronze doors stand open, revealing a shadowed interior that flickers with the light of hundreds of candles. Wreathed in garlands of olive and pine, the temple exudes a quiet reverence, its steps carved with prayers and offerings left by sailors and warriors alike. The harbor is the lifeblood of Port Chester, a tempest of activity where the ocean and city collide. Ships sway in their moorings, their hulls painted in bold colors or scarred by battles and storms. Dock hands, muscles taut and glistening, haul crates of cargo with practiced ease, while captains bark orders in voices that cut through the chaos. The scent of tar and fresh timber mingles with the sea air, and the groan of ships' hulls blends seamlessly with the chatter of merchants and sailors. Amidst the bustling scene, the Wings of Freedom docks with solemn precision. Its once proud sails are tattered, and its hull bears deep gouges from countless battles fought far from home. The figurehead, an eagle entwined with a serpent, stands defiant, even as its paint has been worn to bare wood by salt and time. One by one, the soldiers disembark. Their boots hit the planks of the dock with a weight that speaks of exhaustion and duty. Their armor, once shining, is now dented and tarnished, and their shields bear the scars of arrows and blades. Sigils of a coiled worm, a soaring hawk, and a snarling wolf adorn their battered banners, which sway listlessly in the ocean breeze. These warriors are not victorious. No songs of triumph herald their return. Yet, in their weary eyes burns a quiet pride, tempered by the memory of those who did not walk the same path home. The captain leads them, a man of unyielding presence. His lion skin cloak shifts in the wind, the beast's fierce visage, a silent guardian over his shoulder. The glint of sunlight catches the sapphire set to the hilt of his sword, a sharp contrast to the scratches that mar his breastplate. Families gather at the dock's edge, the crowd a tapestry of emotion. Children run forward with garlands of flowers, their laughter breaking the somber air as soldiers kneel to accept their gifts. A woman cries out as she finds her husband, her joy echoed by others who embrace their loved ones. Yet, not all stories end in reunions. A father clutches the shield of a fallen son, tears tracing lines through the grime on his face, as the world moves on around him. The scene shifts to 4 individuals. Korfel, you are in Port Chester. What are you doing?
Korfel, having already been home for some time, is most likely greeting old war buddies. He might even meet with the captain of the ship, seeing how they most likely have known each other. But for the most part, he's here to visit friends, see who made it home.
Okay, very good. So, Korfel, what do we see when you approach the docks and look for lost friends or those you served with? What do we see? Describe yourself to us, please.
I am a average but tall moon elf with dark skin, white cropped hair. It's pretty wild. He doesn't style it at all. Clean shaven. He stands proud. His armor is chain, as he is currently not enlisted at this moment. And he has a shield beneath his cloak. All of his armor is very carefully shined, even though it is clearly quite old. And he also has a long sword, and it's tabard to his side. But for the most part, he honestly looks like he should be coming off the ship with the rest of the soldiers. The air around him is a little more proper, I suppose. He stands quite straight, not unlike some of the other officers, even though they are clearly very tired.
It's as if you can't shake the soldier out of you.
It's very ingrained.
Okay. But you're there for a reason. You're there to meet an old friend, someone who served with you. But you mull about in the harbor, watching as soldiers pass by. Some of them, you wouldn't recognize them because war changes people. War gives people that visual affectation of the world has worn upon them. Sometimes it just wears them down like time with a stone. Others, it's the grit of sandpaper upon raw flesh. That's the varied feelings that some soldiers tend to have. And you said that you were approaching the ship, or whereabouts were you going? Anywhere in particular at the docks?
Not specifically. He most likely would have been standing off, allowing the soldiers to, you know, onboard the ship and greet their own families before he looked to make greetings himself.
Okay. Let's add to this. There we go. So, as you're standing there, other soldiers pass by you, of course. Other people's families, they pass by because, you know, the war is over. There's peace among the Empire once more on a far off continent in which you've fought, you've bled, you've left things behind, and you've gained others. You brought things home. The captain of the Wings of Freedom slowly disembarks. The man resting his elbow upon the hilt of his sword, his lion cloak concealing his other arm. And as he makes his way towards you, what rank did you hold, Korfel, or did we not determine that?
We didn't determine it specifically. He was most definitely an officer. Not too terribly high, but his family is from almost aristocratic status.
Okay.
So it would have been of relative ease that he moved through.
The captain makes his way to you, and he says, "Lieutenant," and he gives you a nod. And he extends his hand to you to embrace it.
And I would do so immediately. Captain, it's good to see you.
Civilian life treating you well?
As good as any other.
Well, hopefully you get to enjoy that peace. As of right now, I'm being shipped back off to the far continent. I'm just here to see these men off. You know, I don't need widows and mothers holding me accountable for their boys anymore. And he's a much older human. He's probably pushing like 70s. He's probably pushing 70s, and he's got like a thick white beard that is braided. Almost, it's a beard that a dwarf would envy. And he's got some very, his eyes themselves are like a cold steel gray. But he kind of like, he doesn't let go of your hand immediately after you shake it. Like, it's like he's holding on, and you get the feeling that he doesn't want to go. You get the feeling that he doesn't want to go, and he shouldn't have to go. This is a man who should be enjoying retirement of some sort.
Is it not time for you to rest as well?
I'll rest when the gods deem it the time that I should.
As we all will.
And he kind of tilts his head and says, you find yourself back at port, and you're not leaving again, are you?
No, I am here to meet up with one of my fellows from the battlefield.
Oh, I see. Brothers in arms, that kind of thing. I get it. I understand. I understand the camaraderie. I had many brothers in arms myself. And he looks on wistfully, and he just kind of glances out at the sea, and the wind from the harbor takes hold of his cloak and pushes it back. And you see that this man who you had served with probably more times than you can count. You've passed by like two ships in the night sometimes. You see that he is now missing his left arm. And this is a very most recent development.
I choose not to comment, but I put a hand on his shoulder. Like after he releases my hand.
Yeah. When you do so, he puts his right hand over your hand, and he gives you a nod, and he says, "One day I'll be free. But it is not this day. Go on, you've got a friend waiting for you." And he just kind of gives you this little shove, not like he's gonna shove you into the water, but like he gives you a little shove, like, carry on, young man. And as you're there on the docks, Brielle, where are you in terms of Port Chester?
I feel like Brielle would be... Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I didn't see my character moving. So I think
No, you're
Brielle
good.
would be kind of wandering the streets, kind of like looking at the shops and the markets and just kind of passing time and like being in the moment. I think she'd probably want to avoid like the returning soldiers and the ships and stuff, just from her own history and wanting to kind of not have that emotion at the moment.
Okay. So you're lingering more in the market area, right?
Yeah.
You find yourself in Symphony Square, the heart of Port Chester. It pulses with life as you enter it. Brightly colored awnings ripple in the ocean breeze, shading merchants who call out their wares with practiced enthusiasm. Fresh oysters, fine silks, spices from the southern isles. And the air is a blend of scents. There's briny seafood, sweet citrus, the earthly aroma of freshly tanned leather. The plaza itself hums with energy, and it, in and of itself, is a constant symphony of sound that gives the square its name. There are bards that are playing lyres and flutes nearby, and their melodies rise above the chatter of the traders and the rhythmic clatter of cartwheels. Stalls are overflowing with treasures, gleaming jewels that sparkle in the sunlight, things that you've not really had the moments to spare to look at, because you've been in a civilian lifestyle for some time. You see bolts of dyed fabric in vibrant hues, rows of fine steel blades engraved with intricate patterns, and amidst it all, there are children that are weaving their way through the crowd, laughing as they chase one another, and their joy blends seamlessly into the vibrant melody of the market. Are you just... Let me ask the standard retail question. Can I help you find anything?
I feel like she's stalling. Like she's making her way probably in the direction of the port. In general, but stalling because she knows what comes off the ship and seeing. I mean, there's happy faces, but there's also the sad faces. So I think that she's just kind of stalling on her way there. So she's not looking for anything in particular at the moment. She's just kind of stalling and taking her time, looking at the wares and passing by uninterested.
Okay, very fair. After a while, you see that a lot of the ships have already fully disembarked. The crews that are remaining are the ones that are going to be looking after the ships, and they might stay in port for a couple days. They might leave within the next hours. you do remember that the sails and the banners that are being flown on these ships, these are ships that you've seen numerous times, especially when you've been off on the far continent. How has Brielle adjusted to civilian life? You've been home for a time. How has she adjusted, or has she not adjusted?
No, I feel like as soon as she returned, she did her best. Like she came home, spent time with family, reunited and whatnot with them, but became quickly restless. Having her family kind of live like in the forest. She's a wood elf and she comes from Otheria and in the forest area, and she became restless and ended up working random jobs here and there to keep herself busy and distracted, kind of trying to find a new purpose after returning from, campaigns and war.
Okay. And in those times, you've ventured back and forth. It's almost like even mercenary work had brought you back to Port Chester from time and time again. Like, we need to guard a caravan. We need to, escort someone to and from a certain place. But Port Chester always seems to be that, almost that destination anchor for you. And you may have spent more time within the inns in Port Chester than you have in your own home since being back home.
I think she'd like the noise and chaos of it.
And trust me, it's noisy and chaotic.
Yeah. I think she'd appreciate that compared to the quiet of where she comes from.
Oh yeah. I could definitely see the contrast from like a forested elven enclave as opposed to a busy port with people trying to peddle things and sell you things. Speaking of, there's like two merchants that are like holding out wares to you. One's holding out this brass bowl, and he's like, they're the finest mortar and pestle you'll find anywhere in the Isles, and he's just holding it in your face.
I feel like Brielle kind of has this resting bitch face skill that as soon as he actually looks at how uninterested and like just how uninterested she is, I think he'll kind of get the idea that this is not what you do.
Yeah, and then he picks up on it rather quickly because he has a business acumen, and he's here to sell. He's not here to make people upset. So he kind of ducks it down, and then a woman who's walking behind you, he holds it out in front of her. He's like, "Oh yes," and then he kind of steps between your back and her front and faces this woman, and then just his sales pitch continues. So your steps are going to carry you to the edge of the market, to where the merchant ships would be unloading their goods, and obviously not too far from there, you happen to spy someone. You happen to locate someone who looks very familiar, not clad in the same military garb that you've known them to wear, but you see them. You see them off in the distance, and they are parting ways with one of the captains of the vessels.
I approach, kind of slowly, making sure not to interrupt any interaction.
All right, Korfel. Your keen elven ears pick up the familiar sound of footsteps, and even among the cacophony of the harbor, you're able to pinpoint this sound because you've heard these steps before. You're familiar with these steps. What do you do?
Korfel most often has his head on a swivel. It's just inertly in him. So the second he hears steps that he recognizes, he'll turn, and not quite friendly, but almost mischievously, he'll grin at Bree and just stare at her like he's waiting for her to say something.
Okay. Brielle, what do we see when Korfel fully focuses on you now? What do the viewers see?
Bree is fairly tall, 5'8", wood elf. She's not very lean, but she's definitely kind of muscular. I wouldn't say toned. She's just kind of a thicker girl. She's kind of got like a coppery tone to her skin, just being in the sun a lot. She does have like faint scars everywhere from being in battle multiple times throughout her life. She's got dark brown hair that's long and braided. She's got like kind of brown eyes, and she's also very kind of focused, alert, and always kind of has like a more serious look on her face. She is always kind of dressed very clean and proper, old habits from when she was in military, that she keeps everything kind of pristine. You know, if she's wearing armor, it's shined, her clothes are pressed and ironed and straight. So she's wearing like casual clothes right now and still looks clean, kind of in a military stance as she approaches. Kind of just returning the mischievous glint and not saying anything.
So Korfel's gonna. I'm laughing. Sorry. So he's gonna stare at her for a minute, and then almost like he's just building up to it. He's gonna start buzzing at her like a bee.
He's gonna immediately scowl and hit him.
It's good to see you.
You as well. You look old.
Thanks.
You hungry?
When aren't I?
Come on. And I'll lead him to one of my favorite taverns in town.
So one of the best taverns in town is the Creaking Cricket. The Creaking Cricket is known for many things. Fine food, obviously. Fine seafood. It's mostly seafood, but they serve other things as well. But there's a signature drink known as the Cricket's Delight. It's a deep amber ale made from nuts that is topped with a candied jelly globule. And it tastes like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
What did you call it?
The Cricket's Delight.
Okay.
But that is its claim to fame, and most people go in there and get one of them. They serve it in a big old tankard, and then they drop this candied globe of jelly just down into the center of it. And you know, most people stir up. They stir it up with a spoon or a utensil of some kind, and then the jelly melts into it, and it's very savory.
Would you say it gives off a very strong aroma?
It does. It does.
Korfel immediately cringes the second they walk through the door.
No, shut up and sit down. You don't have to get it.
Okay. He just kind of grumbles to himself.
Okay.
Crosses his arms.
They
and
have
sits down.
they have other things, sir. But speaking of other things, a pair of individuals happen to be milling about the cityscape of Port Chester. Nigh inseparable, it seems. One leagues shorter than the other one, more than likely. Ikko and Kubo. What are the two of you doing in Port Chester?
So, we just finished a smuggling gig, and so I think we've kind of just received our payment from the client, and we're just kind of strolling through the markets. Ikko is, maybe kind of eyeing the stalls, seeing if there's anything in particular that she's interested in purchasing, but being kind of stingy with her money is very particular. So she's kind of just, holding the coin in her pocket and like fiddling with it idly as she kind of like, gets up on her tippy toes because she's like 2'5". So kind of peering at all of the stalls and trying to see, if there's anything of interest for the most part, and keeping an eye on Kubo because he's known to wander.
Kubo, have you wandered off like a lost puppy? Actually, I'm gonna make that determination now. Ikko, you look around and you've been looking at the market stalls, right? You've been trying to see if anything has caught your interest. And the markets are crowded, but they usually are. Especially during this time of day. And even more so with the soldiers returning home. You're checking out these finely crafted like scrimshaw art pieces, things carved out of whalebone and teeth, and you look around and Kubo's nowhere to be found. Kubo, where'd you go? Tell us where you went.
Kubo may have smelled fish.
He may have smelled fish. Okay. So,
Well, it's good. I don't know why many people don't care for it. It's good.
So since your nose has taken you to where you can safely see that there are stalls that have these big broken up blocks of ice that they've rested these freshly caught fish. You see a man, he has a barrel full of just raw oysters, and as you're walking by and like staring at the wares that he has, you can see that he's got some halibut, he's got some mackerel, everything's just brimming. And these fish are like the healthiest fish you've ever seen. Well, healthy in the sense that they're dead now, but they were healthy when they were caught. So they look really good. And as you walk over and you're kind of like, do you have like a stooped posture? Like, are you like kind of like stoop shouldered, or do you just put your nose into everything, or?
Yeah, I'm leaned over.
Okay.
Kind of hunched over. Growing up with low ceilings will do that.
It will. It does a number on the back. You'll feel it in another 10 years. You're kind of like looking at the fish that are available, and the man behind the stall, he takes out a knife and he cracks open an oyster, and he offers it to you. He's like, "Hey, this one's on the house, lad."
Wait, you don't... Oh, that's why they were crunchy.
Has he been eating oysters with the shells?
I was going to say, he doesn't care for them much because they're too crunchy.
And the guy kind of notices like the look on your face, and then he just kind of like tips the shell back and
Stuff in them?
Yeah. And he slurps it out of there. He's like, most don't like it raw, but I do. And he gets another one. He cracks it open and he holds it out to you.
Bo takes it and tries to down it raw, but it's a bit squelchy, a bit weird, bit of a strange texture, kind of mucusy, and
Yeah.
not a pleasant feeling.
If it's that unpleasant, then go ahead and roll me the first roll of the campaign.
Oh boy.
Go ahead and roll me a Constitution saving throw, please.
See if this add-on works. Oh dear. There's a whopping 6.
A whopping 6. There's definitely a texture about it that does not agree with you. It doesn't come back up, but for sure you will not be having another one. If anything, you liked them with the shells on. The last, like, out of the comparison, you liked it with the shells on. And he looks at you, and as he's studying you, Kubo, what do we see?
Well, you would see what appears to be a dragonborn with muddy and copperish scales. Sitting about, well, he would be about 6'6" if it wasn't for the, the hunch. But he's wearing a vest and pants, and leaning on a long wooden staff.
Okay. And again, the texture of this oyster does not agree with you, and almost as immediately as you've put that into your mouth and realized that this was a bad idea, your small 2-foot tall companion comes skirting out from behind a few people in the market. Ikko, why don't you describe to us how you look as you see your companion fighting for his life with an oyster?
So Ikko is just like, she approaches and like just at the point where he's being offered the oyster and has put it in his mouth and immediately looks like he's close to vomiting, and she just kind of face palms and tugs on his cloak and is like, I told you not to speak to anybody. You're supposed to follow me.
Ugh.
What did we say about putting strange things in your mouth?
I forgot.
All right. Do you need to spit it out?
And the guy behind the stall, he's just kind of watching for a second. He cracks open another one, just like idly just watching.
Ikko turns to the merchant and, knowing that he had offered it to him as a gift, offers to pay him what it's worth. I apologize. He's just a little special. He probably told you that they're crunchy usually. He's just not familiar with this kind of food.
No, it's all right. It's all right. Yeah. He's like, they're not for everyone. And the one that he just cracked open, he downs really quickly and just kind of like pitches the shells into a little bucket under his stall. He's like, no need to worry about it. I've got plenty. He's like, but you might want to go ahead and get him something with a little bit more substance. And he motions to the fish that he has for sale, but obviously you don't have to purchase anything here. He knows that, but you can go about and do whatever you need to do.
Ikko looks up at Kubo. Are you hungry?
completely forgetting the incident that just happened. Yes.
All right. So she looks back at the merchant and says, "We'll take 1 halibut, please."
Very good. And then he gets like some he's got some butcher's linen, and he kind of lays it out. You want it whole, or you want me to fillet it for you?
Whole is fine.
And he nods and he wraps it up, and he pats it and passes it off to you. Fairly sized.
She pays him for the halibut and grabs Kubo's hand.
I think it's safe
Go
to say the Kubo will be carrying it.
Listen.
Maybe chewing on it.
Well,
but yes.
The thing is, so like, you took it whole, so it's about I want to say like it's a decent sized halibut, probably about as tall as you are, if not taller. I want to say about like 30 some inches. So
no, I didn't know how big halibut was.
Yeah. 30 some inches. It's about 100 pounds.
For a second, I thought you were talking to me when you said it was about as big as you are.
No, well, there might be a halibut out there that's about that big. Yeah,
that's what I was thinking. I was like, wait, don't halibut get freaking huge?
Yeah,
like 400 pounds.
Yeah.
Can we get a half a halibut? That's my bad for not knowing fish sizes.
But yeah,
we'll adjust it in post.
Yeah, well,
but yeah, regardless, she'll pay the man and or pay the merchant and let Kubo take the fish and kind of look up at him like, okay, have at it. Just try to not make a scene.
And instantly, it's
no.
like you've forgotten everything.
No, I can walk and eat at the same time. He's not that bad off. He can walk and eat at the same time. He's just gonna be idly chewing at it as it goes on.
Excellent. So at this point, she's gonna like grab his wrist, or maybe his clothing, to better keep an eye on him because, she should have known better, but he's known to wander. So they're gonna just kind of keep wandering through the markets because their home is in the nearby mountains. So she's kind of just like peeking around as they're heading towards the edge of town.
Okay. Sorry, there was a question that was in the Roll20 chat, and I felt bad for not answering it right away because I was in roleplay mode. So yeah, yes, halibut are very large fish. So this one again is only about 100 pounds, and Kubo is able to kind of carry this one probably a little bit easier. What's your carrying capacity there, Kubo?
You said 14 per strength point?
Yeah.
I think it was like, let me just calculate this. Wait. Oh.
What's your strength?
16.
Okay.
So yeah 224.
Yeah, you can carry this one easily, but it's like, ooh, big fish. So where?
I mean, it's gonna go down over time.
Goes down as you eat raw halibut, and people are like, oh. So where did the two of you head? And Ikko, did you get to describe? You got to describe yourself, right? Your height and your appearance. For a kobold, you're not the standard kobold that most people would be familiar with. What's different about kobolds here?
Right. So I'm a canine kobold, but most of the stuff that people are familiar with is still applicable. So she's still quite small. She's about 2.5 feet. I think around like 25 pounds. So she's pretty petite. Kind of dark brown, chocolatey fur, and kind of like a fluffy mane. Floppy ears, and kind of dressed in like not a lot of like leather gear, but just kind of enough to cover important parts. Like some, I guess, capri sort of like leather pants, and like a top that covers her chest, and a little backpack for essentials. As a rogue, she doesn't want to have like too much heavy gear. She wants to be able to be quiet and stealthy as necessary. But she does have like a little earring with a few feathers in one of her ears. I think that's the gist of it.
Okay.
Aren't your reward carries your everything?
Thanks, Kubo.
So yeah, where do the two of you head from the markets?
From my memory of the map, I think we're mostly going like kind of west, essentially towards home, but not really in a hurry. She's pretty happy that they have successfully completed their last smuggling job, because it's kind of a 50-50 chance whether they go well. So she's a little happier than usual, but just kind of casually strolling. They don't go to port super often. A lot of times their jobs take them to more indiscreet places, but the circumstances made it so where they could kind of dock into a major port town, which they don't usually visit, since kobolds are kind of frowned upon most of the time, or not really appreciated. So she's kind of like taking in the scene and just kind of enjoying the sea breeze and the city.
Okay. Well, as the two of you are walking, you see a very familiar face. You see the port authority standing there with he stands only about like 4 feet tall. He's a very stout, portly dwarf. His nose and his bald head are reddened from spending too much time out in the sun. His reddish beard is streaked with white from age, and he rests his thick-fingered hands across his round belly, and you can see that the rings that are upon his fingers, he would never be able to get them off. Not even if he were to keel over and become a skeleton. These rings are so tight upon his fingers, and he kind of casts a glance over towards the two of you, and seeing the halibut, he snaps his fingers, and a guard follows along behind him, and he's like, "Hey there, I hope that you've not brought that in illegally. You've paid for it, and it's gone through the proper custom channels." Yes.
Ikko rolls her eyes and kind of gives a tug on Kubo's cloak to try to indicate don't talk. And kind of gestures back behind her like, yeah, of course, I'm an upstanding citizen. We purchased it from the merchant back there. I don't know what you're on about.
Oh, I'm just simply making conversation, but now you've got me wondering. I've never known too many upstanding citizens to claim that they are indeed upstanding citizens. And he kind of glowers at you, and you could see that his chestnut brown eyes just kind of like linger on you for a little too long there, Ikko. And Go ahead and make an insight check for me, please.
Okay.
Click the button.
I had to find it. There's so many buttons.
It's all the buttons.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, dirty 20. Let's go. So you can tell that this guy he's not interested in the fact that you're carrying around a raw halibut and eating it like an ice cream cone. Or at least what Kubo's doing to it. I don't know what Kubo's doing to it. He's eating that thing down to the bones. He's stopping you because you're a kobold.
Mm-hmm.
He's profiling you. Now let's see here. I might be willing to not have my companion here, and he gives the guard a little pat, but he should have patted him a little bit higher because it looks like he almost like tags him in the crotch. He says, we don't want any trouble, and I surely don't believe that you'd want any sort of trouble. So what do you say we make this a little more friendly? I'd say about 5 gold would be a friendly enough offer, won't you think?
And what exactly is it that I'm paying you 5 gold for, sir?
Why, your innocence, of course.
I wasn't aware that innocence came at a cost.
Oh, surely. What I don't think you're understanding, my dear, is that if you don't want the guards to be very suspicious of you and he looks you up and down like again, he's profiling you. Well, you stand out, and I surely don't want to get the guards involved, and trust me, it's a lot easier if you just give over the gold.
I would say you stand out too, sir, but I guess I'm not really the one who makes the rules around here.
No.
So she'll knowing how people kind of treat her kind, and the fact that she's not really an upstanding citizen and wants to try to avoid trouble for herself and her clan, she'll reluctantly fish into her pocket and look down like, okay, I think I can manage the change. Hold on, give me just a moment. And kind of digs around like quietly to not make it sound like there's a bunch of coin in her pocket, and grab a coin or like the 5 gold that's necessary and hand it to the man.
Yeah, he holds out his just gross hand, and you put the coins in it, and he runs the coins over one another, and he makes the gesture of allowing the coins to be noisy in his palm. He says, "Oh, very good then. Oh, very good. Well, I hope to be seeing you again soon for another lucrative encounter." And he pats the guard, and then they start walking off.
I'm so tempted to try to make a sleight of hand check to rip one of those rings off of his fingers that should never come off, because my sleight of hand is like a +5, but
You can try it.
I shouldn't.
You could also try to get your coins back.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a good idea. Oh god, it's such a risk. Okay, I'll do it. I'm gonna sleight a hand to try to get my coins back instead of the ring, because I feel like that getting the coins would be easier than ripping
the ring might be
embedded ring.
impossible. Like the ring might be impossible.
Okay, yeah,
The
sleight a
50
hand to try to
DC
get
for
my
that.
coins back.
All right, go for it.
Oh, that hurts. With a +5.
Okay, let's see if he notices.
Kubo, run!
So he
Can you do
has
it?
he has a +4 to his insight, and I rolled a 3.
Oh man.
So he's getting ready, like he's clumsily fumbling with his coin purse, trying to get it off of his belt, and he opens it, and just as he's getting ready to drop the coins in, between his palm and the opening of his coin purse, you just slip your palm out really quickly and snatch the coins.
Amazing.
Wonderful. So you snag the coins back, and then do you say Kubo run? Did you still say Kubo run?
Probably not.
Okay.
Like, like noticeably, but like since she successfully grabs them, she's probably gonna give him a tug and kind of like try to turn to another direction without really saying anything, like guide him away before anyone has a chance to notice that she grabbed the coins back.
I was going to say, because I was going to ask, because if you actually did say it, you'd have turned around to see no one there.
Yeah, Kubo probably kept walking while devouring a halibut. But you're able to spot Kubo very, very easily there, Ikko. But you realize that the Port Authority, the Port Authority, this man that you've run into before, whether like through like an accidental means through like a fumbled smuggling operation, or any such thing, this guy looks down upon anybody who's it's not based off of species or race. It's status. You don't hold status within the city, and he does.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like he just looks down on the poor people, and the rich get richer, and he is the example of everything that most people hate in a civilized society.
Right.
But yeah, you've had run-ins with him before, and the fact that he just stops you, it's a dirty feeling. But you got away with your coins, so that kind of, I don't want to say it evens it out. The guy still sucks, but
yeah. But he didn't win this time.
Yeah, he didn't win this time. So where did the two of you head?
Well, where are we going?
We're going home, buddy. So I think that'll probably take us, I don't know the exact layout of the town, but I assume past like the docks of like the ships that are coming in from the battles, and past Brielle and Korfel.
Yeah, so
as we're kind of making our way to the edge of town.
So with where Port Chester is nestled, it's nestled in kind of like a small bay where it's on the easternmost portion of the continent, and the ships coming in would be coming in from the east, and then for you to go home, you'd be heading west. From where the markets were, the markets are more westward from the docks themselves, because the markets are kind of the centerpiece of Port Chester. Think like the Agora in the in Greek times, like open air markets, places for people to visit. There's bathhouses, there's There's like a hall of remembrance and other such things. Like, again, centerpieces of the town that people can tend to visit. And, you know, there's Tavern Row, where there's taverns, bars, pubs, things of that sort. But again, the standout tavern is the Creaky Cricket.
Oh yeah, okay. And so like what time of day is it about?
It's a little afternoon. I want to say probably around like 2 p.m. We'll say 2 p.m.
Okay. So in that case, you know, actually instead of, because it's going to be quite a journey to get back home,
Yeah.
especially if they end up going on foot. So, after kind of like perusing the markets, she would probably guide Kubo towards the tavern and, you know, decide, okay, well, you know, she's hungry, it's been a long day, and you know, they should probably get some rest before their journey home. So yeah, they would probably go there, get some food and get some drink, and then try to find a room at an inn for the night.
Okay. So how much gold between Kubo and Ikko? How much gold do the two of you have between the two of you?
So I think the smuggler backstory said you start with 15 gold each, which I think makes sense. You know, if they just came back from like a successful gig,
Right.
then I think that seems reasonable to start with. So about 30 gold.
Okay, so about 30 gold between you. I'm gonna go ahead and roll. I'm gonna roll some dice, and this is like some of the extra money that you've gotten for doing a successful job. So that was like your prepay. Like, here, you've taken on this job. This is like your hazard pay. You've already gotten it, but this is a little bit extra that you'll have between you.
Okay. And then minus whatever the halibut costs, I guess.
The halibut costs like 3 gold. It costs like 3 gold. So,
Okay.
So you have an extra 22 gold. You guys have an extra 22 gold that you can split amongst yourselves. If you want to do 11 and 11, or just have like a pool of gold between the two of you, you can.
Okay.
So
11 sounds good.
So I mean, it was a lucrative job, at least lucrative enough for, you know, 2 individuals of your experience level. You know, obviously more experienced smugglers do better business. So you kind of got like, you got the slim pickings, but at the same time you still made something off of it.
Right.
But yeah, if you're going to head to the tavern, let me shift things once more.
And I'll subtract the 3 from my earnings, Kubo.
Perfect. So, nestled in the bustling corner of Port Chester is the Creaky Cricket. It stands as an unassuming yet vibrant haven for travelers, sailors, and locals alike. Its weathered wooden exterior leans slightly, as though bowing to the weight of its years, while the faintest hint of laughter and music spills out from the crooked windows. Carved wooden sign above the door, a playful depiction of a cricket perched atop a frothing mug, sways gently in the sea breeze, its painted surface worn and smooth by time. Now, Korfel and Brielle have already seen this, but for everyone else, as you step inside, the tavern wraps around you like a well-worn cloak. The warm glow of a dozen lanterns and a roaring hearth paints the room in hues of amber and gold. The scent of roasted meat and spiced nuts lingers in the air, mingling with a sharper tang of salt from the nearby sea. The floor creaks underfoot with a sound akin to the gentle rocking of a ship, a detail that feels oddly comforting to its seafaring patrons. Long wooden tables dominate this room, their surfaces scarred with years of careless knife strokes and the occasional spilled drink. But each table tells a story, from the notches carved by bored sailors to the faded marks of a map once drawn in chalk. Along the walls, shields, charms, and tokens hang in a chaotic array, gifts left behind by travelers as a mark of their passage. And among them is a peculiar assortment of oddities, a rusted compass, a tiny model ship in a bottle, and even a harpoon tipped with coral. Behind the bar stands a figure of indomitable cheer, the tavern keeper. A stout man with ruddy cheeks and a braided beard streaked with gray. His hands move with practiced ease, sliding mugs of ale to waiting patrons while shouting orders to the kitchen. The centerpiece of his offerings, however, is a drink like no other. Again, the cricket's delight. This concoction of peanut-infused ale arrives in a polished wooden mug topped with a single candied jelly globule that glimmers like a jewel. As you watch, a nearby patron stirs their drink with a spoon, dissolving the candy into a swirl of sweetness that perfumes the air with a hint of fruit. In the corner, a bard strums a lively tune on a battered lute, weaving tales of far-off lands and local legends into his melodies. Around him, a small group claps in time, their voices rising in spirited harmony. Beyond the music, the chatter of sailors fresh from the Wolvenok Ocean mingles with the deeper tones of soldiers recounting their victories. Or their losses. Every corner of the creaky cricket seems alive with its own story, waiting for a curious ear to catch a stray word and follow it to an end. Korfel and Brielle, you two have been in the tavern, and around this time, Ikko and Kubo make their way in. I don't know how closely you pay attention to people who enter rooms. I know Korfel said that he keeps his head on a swivel, correct?
Very much so. He is very aware of his surroundings at all times.
Okay. So would you say that he would pay attention to people coming in and out of the tavern, or at least people that kind of like walk by the table? Okay.
Especially people who don't quite look like they fit. And
Wow.
Wow.
Profiling.
I've already been racially profiled once.
so not because of your race necessarily, but you're not armored. You're not wearing a banner. You're not clearly a soldier. And
I look like
the majority
a rogue.
of people...
Honestly, Korfel, like the thing that you see first is the fact that there is a half-eaten halibut within the arms of a dragonborn as they walk through the
Probably smell it before you see it.
Yeah, you do. Like the salty tang, and almost like just the smell of it. The smell of the sea is so strong because it's an uncooked halibut, and it's
raw fish.
It's been omnommed to the point where it's more noticeable now.
Bones and all?
Yeah. Hey, question, Kubo. Do you devour the bones as well? I mean, you've eaten oysters with the shells on, so I'm assuming.
I feel like the bones would have like the celery trait where they just kind of like it flosses while you eat.
I hate it.
But
no, he knows not to eat the bones.
Okay. He's
just like casually spitting out bones as he walks.
yeah. That's what I'm thinking he was doing. Is that he's just spitting out bones, which is fine. That's perfectly fine. So, yeah, Korfel, you noticed that a dragonborn and a kobold walk into a bar. The beginning of a very bad joke, I'm sure. But you see that first, and again over the heads of others that are sitting in the tavern, and the tavern is packed. Like Brielle, you two had a hard time finding a seat that wasn't like neighboring someone else, but you managed to squeeze in somewhere.
I feel like almost casually, due to his rank, it wouldn't be too hard for someone to respectfully bow out.
Right.
I
and
think
be
between
like,
both of our demeanors too, just like both of us kind of looking very serious and like military-esque.
Well, that's also fair, but you two are also not in your military garb. Like, you're not wearing a
That's fair.
badge of rank on you. So, but I mean,
I do have resting bitch face going for me.
that is true. That is true. You do have the biggest case of RBF that anyone in this town has seen in a long time. So you, I mean, eventually, like some of them, the soldiers, they notice that you guys are carrying yourselves differently than some of the other patrons, and you know they kind of strike up some small conversation with you. It's like, you know, oh hey, you served, and then they swap a few stories with you. They have you sit with them, but then eventually they decide that, you know, they need to go, and these two soldiers are like, hey, we're gonna go to the bathhouse together, and then they decide to go to the bathhouse together. And they get up and they leave you two at the table.
Having flashbacks. Anyway, so if we've been here a moment, Korfel probably would have immediately like tried to get some food.
Okay, you flag down a tavern wench, a barmaid. Oh yeah, what can I get you?
Meat and potatoes, if you have it.
Oh, got plenty of meat. What are you looking for? You want some pork? You want some venison? You want some lamb?
Just give it to just all of it.
All of it, they say. Oh, kitchen's
Sounds
gonna be busy.
good.
Kitchen's gonna be busy, and she scurries off, and she's like, "We need one of everything," and they're like, "Everything," and someone's
He,
complaining.
like
in the
as she
kitchen.
goes to walk away, he like yells, "And an ale!" But not the sweet one, whatever that was.
So they, you know, she comes back and she brings them out in waves. She's bringing the food out in waves because it's being cooked, they're bringing it out. Starts out with like some thick cut bacon, and then there's some lamb shank, and then there's some braised beef, and then all of it's just coming out like one after another. And she sets down a couple tankards of ale. And she pats you on the shoulder, Korfel, and says, "Don't worry, it's not the sweet stuff." He's like, "I can't handle it myself, but you know, my husband." And she rolls her eyes. She's like, "It's his great grandpappy's recipe." And she just rolls her eyes and she walks off.
He immediately digs in, particularly to the bacon.
But again, the food's not stellar, but it's filling, and it doesn't taste bad, but it's not 5-star quality. You can tell that they've rushed it out of the kitchen. It's cooked, so you're not gonna get sick, but it's like very lightly seasoned because they probably have to make sure that they don't offend anyone's spice palate or anything, you know. So they bring out all this food to you guys, and Ikko and Kubo, what do the two of you do? Because as the food's being brought out, you guys are kind of just working your way into the tavern.
I'll let
Maybe
Kubo
fun.
lead.
What?
What? What are you doing, Kubo?
Following you.
Oh, right.
At this point, you two have like kind of done like a lap or two around the tavern. Because you were like, I'm gonna let Kubo lead, and he was following you, so you just walked.
Whose footprints are these?
So if it's like super full, you know,
We gotta find
Ikko's
a
not
seat.
expecting to like find a seat or like, you know, have anyone relinquish their seat, but she'll probably keep an eye out like in case a table opens so she can snag it. But in the meantime, you know, probably just kind of walk up to the bar and order a drink for herself. And you know, I'm not super familiar with like tavern food, so if the server or bartender has any suggestions, I would appreciate that.
Well, obviously they pushed the delight. They pushed that drink on everybody. But they've got wines, they've got whiskeys, they've got ales. They've also got, and they tell you, you know, if it can be cooked, we've probably got it. So if you're craving anything, we've got it in the back.
Yeah, you know what? Give me a surprise plate of, like, grilled meat of some sort. Not picky. You know, just pick one, and a glass of ale, and then whatever Kubo would like. I mean, he's probably good on food, but, you know, if he's extra hungry after his 50 pounds of halibut.
So you guys managed to get a table that has like 3 seats at it, and there's one for you, one for Kubo, and then one for the 50 pounds of halibut that you
I was
guys,
gonna say the fish.
Yeah. Just kind of like rested in the chair as a placeholder, and you know, the barmaid nods and goes off, and she fetches a plate of mystery meat. Comes back with a couple drinks for you. So as you guys are settled into the tavern, you get a little bit of time with one another, especially after a long job or after not having seen one another for such a long time. Brielle, Korfel, what are the two of you talking about?
I'd say we're probably just catching up, kind of talking about jobs that we've done, places we've been, you know, how we're dealing with life.
Korfel up to this point has mostly since you know coming home has mostly just stepped in as a guard in different situations and places. Generally nothing that pays extravagantly, just enough to, you know, keep things flowing, keep him doing well and able to provide for will help provide for his family.
Any good jobs lately?
Good, no, but it keeps the gold flowing.
How is the family?
As chaotic as ever.
Heard anything new on the front of the war and the fight team?
Have I?
Have you heard anything from the war? Go ahead and make an investigation check for me, Korfel. Go ahead.
Roll. Okay.
You get to roll some
Sorry,
dice. Woo! Ooh boy!
Rolly.
Ooh boy numbers.
16.
16. You have heard a fair amount, especially through like your guard positions that you've taken. You know, again, you might have done some caravan guard work back and forth. You might have actually served as like a part-time guard either here in Port Chester or one of the other nearby towns. So you've picked up a few things, like news from the war. You know, obviously the war's over. The Empire is victorious, and now people are looking to rebuild. You've also heard rumors of something rising in the west, but you're not sure. The rumors aren't very sure of what's going on out in the west, but there's murmurs, and there are those of the academic persuasion who mention things like unearthing some ancient ruins beneath a new academy, and that there's there's a chance that some might be able to expand westward even further if they're willing to take a boat ride past the sea. But
Okay.
but a lot of people, a lot of the tales that you hear are like seeking fortune type tales, like, and it's things that you're not used to because you didn't join the military to seek fortune. So fortune favoring is not something that's like at the forefront of your brain. Like, yeah, coin is nice and it makes you comfortable, but it's not why you do what you do or why you did what you did. And hearing these tales of people that you've just kind of like interacted with, like they've made that their whole lives. Like money makes the world go round, and I'm going around with it. I'm not going to be left behind. That's what a lot of these tales tend to be. So again, a lot of strong rumors of being able to make a wealthy living by doing things that you guys have actually done, which is why mercenary work seems to have suited you, the both of you.
So I take a moment to kind of think back on it. Father and Orim have talked about some findings with other scholars out west, but seems like most are looking for exploration.
Interesting. Anything you think we should be worried about?
We can only hope not.
Indeed. How's the meat?
Meaty.
You always were so good with descriptions.
I do have a way with words, I know.
Don't forget to watch your elbows.
Haha. Ha 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 ha. But he like subtly tucks them in.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's like, was that like kind of drilled into Korfel? I was like, don't eat with your elbows on the table.
Korfel is much a bull in a china shop and has a tendency of not being the most graceful. And in a previous incursion with Brielle, he got into a par fight because of his elbows hitting the wrong person.
Oh, okay.
So I pick on him for it.
Sure thing.
She scowls again.
Okay. All right. So that's what you've heard, Korfel, is rumors, mutterings, things about things far from your home. You're on the eastern part of the continent. You don't worry about the west coast or the center of the continent. So it doesn't really seem to affect you much. I mean, it's been a minute since you've been to the capital, so that's probably, I don't know how far west you might have gone just on your own, but I can't imagine that you've gone too far west past the capital city of Dunmerrin. So
Korfel is easily in his 200s. He has been with his battalion for most of his adult life.
Okay.
Besides the last 10 years or so.
Okay.
He was very involved. He very rarely took trips home. So he's probably been around a bit.
Okay. All right. That's fair. That's fair. I mean, when you guys enlisted, you weren't drafted. You joined up willingly, because the Empire didn't have a need for a draft. You would have had to have gone at least to Dunmerrin to enlist, so that way they could ship you out. So you two have been to the capital. I don't know if Ikko and Kubo haven't been that far west, but I can't imagine they have, but maybe they have. I'm not going to speak for them, because there's smuggling to be done out there. But that's probably like the smuggling gold mine, is to be able to smuggle for, to and from the capital. So it's probably like, for them it might be on a bucket list. Like, yeah, I can't wait to go to the capital and make a fortune there, that kind of thing. But I don't want to speak for them. I'm just kind of throwing it out there. So the four of you are in different portions of the tavern. Food has been brought out, drink has been brought out. Ikko and Kubo, what do the two of you do when you're sitting there? Discussing plans going home, maybe, or settling up where you're going to sleep for the night?
Probably the latter for now. After having like a successful job, it's probably kind of, not in the forefront of Ikko's mind to think about the next job, but yeah, at least, probably just kind of shooting the shit and talking about maybe some close calls they had during their last job or anything like that. Not anything super specific, or just kind of hanging out and enjoying the food and drink and kind of relaxing after a stressful job of trying not to be caught by the authorities for their illicit activities.
So what was one of your closest calls? Go ahead, inform us.
Oh no, I'm not prepared.
Kubo probably remembers it.
Yeah, Kubo.
Well, you
what
don't
was our closest call?
You remember? It's the time that when you were in the you were in the box, and I had to put on the armor and just stand there, because you told me to just stand there and not to move and not to talk. But the guy came down and was walking around and looking for things, and as he was leaving, I sneezed.
Sydney! I'm sorry, I hear the cat in the background. It's killing me.
And I sneezed.
Yeah, you know what? That's...
And then he froze.
And you dropped the box.
Oh, that's right. And then I shouted because I was unexpectedly dropped from within the box. And I had to punch the top open, and we just booked it. And yeah, that was a mess. But we narrowly escaped by diving into the ocean and swimming to shore, because at least fortunately at that point the job had just started and the ship had only departed 5 minutes ago, so we swam as fast as we could and made it out of there. But then we had to pay the people a deposit back.
He did swam away as fast as possible, and all I could picture was the giant dragonborn just doggy paddling for his life.
I'm just imagining him doggy paddling though, head
Probably,
above water, and just
as a dog kobold, that's probably how he knows how to swim.
Yeah.
Raised by kobolds.
You remember? I can't remember his character name right now, but it was Andre the Giant's character.
Oh, Fezzik. Fezzik.
Yeah,
from,
Fezzik.
And he was, yeah.
And he mentions I can only doggy paddle.
Okay. I like that. I like that. That's it's canon now. You've said it out loud. It's canon now.
I already figured that would be the case anyway.
Permanent. Forever.
I hope this is recorded so I remember it later.
Write it down.
Take notes. You don't have a notepad open?
I have an Excel open.
No, I just trust Jess to take notes for me.
All right, I'll write this down for you.
Thanks. I'm so bad at note taking.
Let me Control S that for you.
Can't do that for audio.
So yes, as you guys are regaling tales and catching up and what have you, the bustle of Symphony Square and Tavern Row grinds to an uneasy halt. There's a commotion that ripples through the markets. A crowd begins to build outside. People start funneling in and out of the tavern, trying to get a better view of what's going on. For those of you that have been in Port Chester before, you understand what the word escapes me, but you understand what commotions like this mean. You understand that, these don't happen often. Whether you've been in and out of port, just, passing through, stuff like this does not happen very often. Do you guys check to see what's going on?
Korfel would
Immediately.
probably, already be up, hand on his hilt.
Dropping coin on the table and running out the door.
Ikko probably wouldn't be running out the door, but definitely ears perked, trying to figure out what's happening. So definitely alert.
Okay. You could probably peek out one of the windows, because there are windows in the tavern. You can just peek out the window and see what's going on. They keep the windows clean enough that they're not grimy or dingy or anything like that. So you could see out if you didn't want to go outside. But as the crowds begin to build, a lot of what you're able to see becomes more and more obscured. Those of you that are looking outside, you see that the crowd begins to part as if letting someone through. There are murmurs and gasps that are spreading like wildfire as a figure of a Halecian barrister, one of the higher ranking members of the Church of Halec, strides into view. Their reddish-brown robes with yellow trim gleam in the sunlight, and the symbol of Halec, a gavel breaking through the clouds, prominently displays on a medallion on their chest. 2 armored paladins flank them, their white tabards pristine, red cloaks flowing behind them as they march forward with precision. And between them, they drag a wild-eyed man, disheveled and kicking, his voice shrill as it pierces the murmuring crowd. You don't understand. He tried to take it. He wanted it. He wanted my stone. The man howls, his voice cracking with desperation. His filthy tunic is in tatters, and his bare feet scrape against the cobblestones as he's struggling against his captors. I saw him looking at it. He wanted it. He coveted it. He was going to take it from me. I had to stop him. I had to. And at this point, this man is sobbing as these paladins are just dragging him through the town itself. Eventually, they cut out of view past the Creaky Cricket, What do you guys do? You mind your business, or do you decide to get nosy?
I think I would follow. I'd probably like
Yeah.
shoulder. I would like bump him with my elbow and then start walking.
Yeah. Very cautiously, but curiously.
Yeah, I think Ikko would at this point kind of get up, like maybe rush the rest of her food and ale into her mouth, and kind of grab Kubo by the clothes and slap some money down on the table to pay for what they've purchased, and rush out because it sounds very intriguing and probably profitable.
Okay. So you follow out, and again, for at least two of you, no, not that one. I'll leave it be. I like the silence. So for at least two of you, you are members of the same faith as the barrister and the paladins. So you probably figure that this is some official business, some law business. As you funnel out of the cricket and into the street, your steps carry you into the center square of the market. Centered in the square is a gallows platform. The paladins hoist this man onto the platform, their faces grim and unyielding beneath the gleam of their helms. But the man continues to thrash and rave, his movements frantic, as a noose is tightened around his neck. No, it's mine! You don't know what it's like. You don't know. How could you? It speaks to me. Sings to me. It sings. But you can't take it. You can't take it. You can't. They'll come for it. They'll come for all of us. For all of you. And he points accusingly at the crowds of people, and the guards grab his hands and tie them behind his back. The barrister ascends the platform, and he unrolls a scroll with deliberate, practiced movements. His voice rings out, very sharp and commanding, silencing the growing murmurs of the crowd. This man stands before us as a wretch, one who has violated the sacred peace of Port Chester. He is guilty of theft, of deceit, and of cold-blooded murder. Within the walls of our beloved city, he struck down an innocent, a crime that cannot go unanswered. By the authority of Halec, god of order and justice, he shall face judgment for his sins. You're lying! The man screams, his voice raw with fury and panic. He lurches towards the crowd, straining against the deputies holding him. He was the thief! He wanted the stone! He was going to take it from me! Steal it from me! Do you hear me? It's mine! And his voice begins to lower into a feral hiss, and his eyes dart wildly into the crowd as he snarls through clenched teeth. You'll see. You'll all see. It will come for you, too. The stone will take you all. The barrister glares down at him, and their expression is as hard as iron. Enough of your delusions, murderer. Your lies will not tip the scales of justice. Leocraft shall weigh your soul fairly as he does all things. And they raise a hand, signaling for the paladins to begin preparations as they start messing with the ropes and whatnot. What do the four of you do?
Korfel at this point has, for the most part, stood at attention almost
Yeah,
in
same.
respect for the other members of Halec.
Halec order.
And as this man is crying out, he's glanced at Bree, raised an eyebrow silently, and then just stared ahead. He's a little unsure what to make of the situation, but it's also not the first time he's seen something like this.
Bree is again also standing at attention, just out of respect for the other followers of the Order of Halec. And I think, like, at the raised eyebrow, like, her jaw is clenched. She's not necessarily comfortable with what's going on, but also wants to trust in what the Baluster and the Paladins are doing. So I think she would just, like, clench her jaw and, like, bring her attention back to the scene. I don't know, can I do, like, an insight check on the situation or on the Baluster specifically on his accusations against the man?
Yeah, you could. You can. Yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
19.
So, the two of you, Korfel and Brielle specifically, you know that that justice is swift among the Halecian clergy. You members of your order, and they don't put a lot into trials when someone is deemed dangerous. And for them to take this kind of action means that this man was remarkably dangerous. For them to just jump to this instead of jailing him, putting him on trial, something about this is odd. And for the two of you, especially Brielle, having you're reading the expressions on the barrister's face and his actions and his mannerisms. A lot of them are trained to not, like, give away too much. They have that poker face. They are always in I don't want to say they're always in bad cop mode, but there are very few good cop barristers. Let's put it that way. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So this man who is wearing, like, disheveled rags, tattered rags, looking as if he's like he hasn't eaten in days, but it doesn't look like they imposed this on him because they captured him in this state. But the two of you are soldiers, and this man does not look like he's a danger to anyone other than himself. So that's what you're able to kind of read from the situation.
I think, I don't know, I think Brielle would kind of lean over and whisper to Korfel, should we intervene or should we just leave it be?
I do not believe they would do this unjustly. Do you?
Something about it doesn't feel right.
We don't know any of the story.
I think she would just do what she's always been trained to do and stay quiet and watch and do what she's supposed to do.
Okay. Ikko and Kubo, what are the two you taking in from this?
That sounds like an important rock, doesn't it? You think we can find it? You think it's worth anything? Star.
Is Ikko muted?
Oh my god, I was muted. I'm sorry. I was communicating.
Oh.
Yes. So, um, yes, like internally, I think Ikko is kind of grappling with the idea of like speaking out to get more information because she agrees with Kubo that it does sound like it's something, whatever he's speaking of, this stone that someone is coveting or like taking is probably worth something. But, like realizing that she's kind of a race that people look down upon, or that she's generally tries to stay out of the public eye as much as she can. um she's kind of really fighting with whether or not she should speak out, but I think ultimately, especially with Kubo's kind of um encouragement, or like his mention that it could be worth something and that maybe we should go after it, I think she'd probably step forward, or like kind of try to shimmy her way through the feet of people in the crowd. And
What is that?
We heard that.
yeah, so whatever Kubo said, what was that? What stone is that?
Yeah.
So like if he speaks up, yeah, she'd just go for it. Like she would like open her mouth to speak, and then if he just goes, "What stone is that?" she'd just stop and kind of look at him, and turn towards the barrister and be like, "Yeah, can we hear what he's talking about? This seems very interesting. Maybe important to the protection of the town."
And one of the guardsmen, not a paladin, one of the guardsmen kind of steps front because they've made it so a crowd can form, because this is the town square. So obviously, if they're doing an execution in the town square, people are going to see it, and they want people to see this, especially if it's like this person's dangerous here. We're enacting justice. Some of the guards just kind of like step forward, and it's like, justice will be done here today. And then, but as Kubo yells out, what stone is it? What was the exact phrasing, Kubo?
I said, hey, what stone is that?
The man with the rope around his neck, he's sobbing, and his voice is breaking into like fractured cries. He's like, please don't let them take it. Don't let them have it. The stone, it's watching. It's always watching. And he's like screaming at this point, and you could see that the barrister is having like none of this, because it's doing nothing but like, you notice people in the crowd are like getting antsy, and it looks like if the barrister doesn't do what he's been tasked to do, he's going to lose control of the situation. And as the man lets out one guttural scream, the trapdoor beneath him gives way, and there's a loud crack. And the square goes silent. And the only thing that breaks the silence is the creak of the rope. The barrister lets out a sigh, as if this weight has been lifted from his shoulders, and he steps down off of the platform, and he steps up to address the crowd. Justice has been served. May Leocraft weigh him accordingly. And the barrister doesn't make eye contact with anybody, but as the two paladins kind of walk down with them, the crowd lingers for a long period, but the paladins kind of like glance out into the crowd, and one of them, since you've stepped forward, Ikko, one of them looks down at you, and you can tell that he's got this look on his face, is like, actually, make an insight check for me.
Okay. Oof.
He's got a look on his face. Um,
He sure does.
he looks down and you look up and the sun just glints right off of his helmet at the wrong time and you can't even read his expression. It's like, man, that lens flare is just horrible. But he looks down at you and he just kind of shakes his head and he just keeps walking. The other paladin though kind of glances out in the crowd and let's see, who does he see? I've got a D6. Korfel, you're 1 or 2. Brielle, you're 3 and 4, and Kubo, you're gonna be 5 and 6. Brielle, the other paladin looks out at the crowd and he kind of stays behind. And in staying behind, he's there to like, all right, nothing to see here. This is the kind of stance that he's taking at this point. And some of the crowd begins to disperse, but you see his eyes lock on you for a period of time, sensing some of your unease. He leans over to one of the other guards and mumbles something to them. And as the crowd begins to disperse, the paladin walks over and he removes his helmet. He's a half elven male, clean shaven, crew cut haircut, but his hair is this silvery platinum color. And you see that he's got a scar over both eyes, but nothing has impaired his vision. And he approaches you.
Hail.
I noticed that there was not an issue, but I could sense that Halec wished me to speak to you.
So speak.
You have concerns.
Yes.
Voice them.
That man looked like nothing but a harm to himself and not to others.
Indeed.
He might have been mad, but he didn't seem dangerous.
The man was found with his hands around another man's neck. To deem him not dangerous would have been a lie and a folly in the name of our Lord.
Can I insight him?
Yeah.
Only an 8 this time.
Halecian paladins, you know, they don't lie, especially when it comes to matters of law and order. They are probably among the most honest people that one could meet within the realm. I don't want to say they're paragons because nobody's elevated to that status, but when they uphold the law, they do so at the behest of Halec.
If he says nothing else, I'd nod and thank you for speaking with me.
I can understand how some might determine that a situation such as this is questionable.
What of the stone?
We do not know.
Do you have it?
We do not. When he was apprehended, he had all but the clothes on his back.
Where was he found?
He was found, and he points down one of the rose streets, in an alleyway, hands around another man's neck. Both seemed to be in some form of intoxication. We thought it just a drunken brawl, but a drunken brawl can be broken up. But unfortunately, there was nothing else found at the scene.
Who's the man that he killed?
Some beggar.
I kind of nudge Korfel again with like my foot, so it's like unnoticeable, but just to see, like looking at him through the corner of my eye to see if he wants to say anything or if he wants to have an opinion.
Korfel's fairly quiet. He wasn't approached, so he mostly seems to almost stand guard.
Yeah, but you're
Around Bree?
higher ranked than me.
Yeah. Well,
This is true.
Pull
This
rank,
is true.
bro. That's my nudge of pull rank, bro.
is there no other investigation to be had for this?
Unfortunately, not in this case. It seemed pretty straightforward. One man kills another man. Justice needs to be served. The motives don't matter.
But there may yet still be justice needing to be served.
Especially if this stone is as dangerous as he says it is.
Exactly.
The paladin, almost as if in a show of kind of like a lecturing way, he reaches down. He's got his helmet under one arm and he grabs a pebble off the ground and he holds it up between his fingers. If this were the stone that the madman spoke of, it is no more dangerous in the hands of myself than it is in the hands of a child.
But if
However,
the stone is what made him mad,
you think stones have such a power?
You cannot speak as if magic does not exist.
I
as
do.
if power cannot corrupt.
Absolute power corrupts absolutely. We are taught this. And he looks to Korfel, and this guy outranks you. If this were military, he outranks you. But in terms of like paladinship, among the order, he's up there. Like he'd be like High Templar or something.
I am wee baby. Got it.
But you know as well as I do that magic exists. You also understand that anything, when put in the hands of the wrong person, and he takes a little cord off of his belt, and the cord itself is probably about like 2 inches wide, little thick. He puts the pebble into it. He takes a step back and he puts he swings the leather cord around and lets the pebble go. The pebble flies out, hits off the side of a wooden beam on the outside of a building, and you see that it makes an indentation. The paladin returns the cord to his belt and says, "Stones hold power. But if this man is speaking of one, we do not know what it is or where it is. For all we know..."
Like a perception or a stealth check to like overhear this conversation that's been happening?
Yeah, absolutely. Make a perception check. Yes, please do. If you want to overhear stuff, drop those eaves. Go for it.
Okay. I was trying to find the ideal moment to like interject that.
Yeah, I feel bad because I interrupt every time.
No, you're fine. There were definitely moments I could have, and I like waited too long.
Okay. 15. Yeah, you overhear all this. I mean, yeah,
I do have a
there's
question.
people mulling about, but yeah, go ahead.
I can't remember my insight check. Did I do that to see if he was lying about the man, or was that about the stone? Because I wanted to see if I could insight him about if they have the stone or not. But I can't remember if that's what I already did, or if I was doing it if he was telling the truth about the guy, or if it's too soon to do it again anyway.
I would just say it's in general. It wasn't
Okay.
like
Just an overall for the entire situation.
Yeah,
Okay.
for the entire situation. You know, everything that's encompassing this, it's like it's all really involving that man. But
Yeah,
at the
sure.
at the same time, it's like no general questions were asked specifically of like the stone itself or the man himself. Like if you were to ask a more specific question, then you could insight his answer because that's what he
Sure.
would be responding to.
Understood.
That's like, you know, you sit there if you're on a polygraph test and someone asks you a question, the response on the polygraph is in response to the question. So that's like the insight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, just overall, you're just kind of reading it. But Ikko, yes, you overhear what's going on. There are still people around, and they're talking amongst themselves, and you know that they're giving the paladin a wide berth. They're giving him a wide berth, but as they are apt to do.
So, Korfel, being who he is, while I mean no disrespect, I understand the need for justice, of course. However, my concern lies in the unknown and what else may be caused from this. If you allow, I would offer to go investigate myself to ensure that there is no further danger.
Seeing as we are not conducting an investigation of our own, you would not be interfering with any official business, though I would encourage and mark that you do not cross the law in your own investigations.
I would never. And he says it with some oomph behind it.
Oomph, I like it. Oomph. So Ikko and Kubo, you're overhearing this. Where do you want to interject?
I think right at that point is kind of a good spot. But Ikko would probably try to... I mean, actually, I think she would try to bide her time a little bit because I think jumping in too eagerly would be kind of strange or suspicious, like just as a bystander. But she's definitely intrigued and wants to try to integrate herself and Kubo into this investigation that Korfel and Brielle are about to undertake. So I think she might still kind of stay on the sidelines a bit until they're done engaging with the paladin, and then maybe like offer her services. Like, I can kind of promote that pitch once it gets to that point.
Okay. But the paladin, who, let's see, Korfel, you are a paladin of Halec, so you know the rank and stuff. This man is a high marshal. He is a high marshal, which is, you know, the next thing under like supreme guardian of rankings among Halec. So you can tell that he addresses you differently than he does Brielle, because you hold rank, but not militarily. He's not dismissive of Brielle because, again, Brielle is a cleric of Halec also, so he recognizes that she has connections to him, in terms of the deity in which they serve.
Okay, wait. So I have a question because now I've confused. Like I've got my wires crossed somewhere.
Yeah.
So I am of military ranking lieutenant under the
Empire.
soldiers,
Yes.
the Empire.
Yes.
However, under Halec, because I am a paladin, under Halec,
Mhm.
like he is my deity.
Yeah.
I more or less hold little to no ranking at all.
Yes. So
Okay, I just want to make sure I
yeah.
have it in clear.
Among the hierarchy of paladins, you are low. Among soldiers that have fought in war, and you fighting alongside them, you are lieutenant. So they know you as lieutenant. Other soldiers would see you and be like, that's Lieutenant Korfel. Or Korfel. Sorry. And but you know, the paladin does regard you. He regards the two of you and doesn't seem to pay much attention to others around them. But he's not looking down on anybody. He's not the barrister. The barrister looks down on anybody because he is the law when he speaks the law. And he knows the law by rote, so. But the barrister's not here and the paladin is, so.
Fair enough. So Korfel would look to Bree and I guess basically do that thing where they speak without speaking and be like, all right.
Okay.
I think I do
Then-
like a slight bow of goodbye to the paladin and kind of like a thank you.
Then we will bid you farewell.
And Halec's praise or whatever.
And-
whatever the term be.
Whatever the term.
Halec's name.
In Halec's name, he's like, order be done. And he nods his head and he walks off.
All right, B.
All right, let's get started. He said he was over there. Or do you want to start in the morning? I think we should start now before evidence gets away.
We should absolutely head there immediately.
Um,
Someone somewhere saw something,
Yeah.
knows something.
I want to know. I have a passive perception of 15.
Okay.
I assume Ikko and Kubo are either watching and or following.
Ikko has been dropping eaves.
So I wanted to know if I noticed. I know her perception was 15, but that doesn't necessarily counter my perception of 15. So
let me ask this. So you're trying to do so stealthily, right, Ikko? You're not trying to be obvious that you're listening in, or were you or does it not matter?
Trying to be sort of stealthy
Okay.
when like eavesdropping during the conversation because, you know, paladins and military people don't bode well for kobolds. So, yeah, probably stealthy.
Okay.
At least during the conversation.
So given that situation, I want you to make a stealth check for me, but you get to add a conditional modifier of +2 because of
Oh,
the,
excellent. I
because of the
already have a
crowd.
+7.
Because of the crowd.
Okay, so I'm gonna have the +7 roll and then I'll just add 2 to that.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Oh shit.
damn.
Oh, yeah.
So 28.
28.
Well, if Kubo's following too, doesn't he also have to make one?
You know what? Fair
Well,
point.
I mean, okay, Kubo. You are you are you trying to emulate what Ikko is doing by being stealthy, or do you just kind of like just walk up like a bull in a china shop? And just...
Hey, that's me.
Yeah, should we just do like an average of the 2 rolls, I guess? To see if she notices one of us.
Well, I'm gonna have him if he's trying to be stealthy, then I'll have him make a stealth check. He
Stealth check. Here we go.
He still gets the conditional +2 because of the crowd.
Okay.
But he also stands out because he's
Even with a
No
negative
way.
1.
Wow.
No way.
Negative dirty
Still a
20.
You got a dirty 20.
Somehow, some way. We must be really distracted. So distracted.
You guys were too focused on doing like your quiet back
Our
and forth. Like,
investigation,
you're
yeah.
like, hey, what should we do? Blah blah blah. Meanwhile, Ikko and Kubo are like, hey, they're talking about doing something. But no, you don't notice. I mean, they're kind of blended into the crowd, and given that they do smuggling and things like that, they're used to doing things unseen or doing things so they're not so chalant. So you don't notice them, Brielle, but Ikko and Kubo, Ikko can definitely tell that that Brielle's like, what's going on? You know, is there anyone listening in? Or
I think both of us keep kind of our heads on a swivel in general. Like, we're both very alert and attentive just because that was our training.
yeah, that's military. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, for sure. We're kind of always kind of like looking over our shoulder, keeping, our eyes open. But at this point,
Yeah.
apparently, we're very focused on what our current path is.
We're already starting an investigation, so our
direction,
mind
yeah.
is on that.
Yeah, and I think like shortly after they part ways with the paladin, I think Ikko would make herself known. Probably tapping Brielle. It's hard to tell which one seems less threatening.
Brielle's got the resting bitch face. That she's
Right.
Korfel.
Who's shortest?
I think
Brielle.
me. I'm 5'8", and you're like 6 something, are you?
6 something, yeah.
Okay, so she'd probably go for Brielle, and maybe kind of try to get her attention. Maybe like tapping on her hip or like back, I guess, because she can't reach too high.
Smacking her butt.
No.
Smacking her butt. Just hey.
Yeah, hey there, pretty lady.
Just hugging her shirt.
But
Like a
no,
little
she
kid.
would like kind of like gently tap, like trying to get her attention. And if she turns towards her, then Ikko would be like, "Hey, I couldn't help overhearing. There was some discussion about the stone, and I'm pretty intrigued about this. This whole situation seems pretty unusual, and I would like to help you guys get to the bottom of it. If you wouldn't mind some company or some assistance in your investigation with me and my half-brother, step-brother." As she like gestures towards Kubo, who looks nothing like her.
And is also how tall? 6'6", although hunched over.
Yeah.
Is he still chewing on halibut?
No, I think he
That
left
was
that
gonna
back
be my
in the. I think he left that in the tavern.
I think instinctually,
Yeah, it's
like,
in my seat.
I don't know if I'd have to roll for it, but I think instinctually, like, she'd turn and try to like grab her wrist as she taps her, just because she's touching her in general. But assuming that you're probably not pulling away, I'd probably be able to grab your wrist in time anyway, theoretically.
Yeah, I don't think she would like be defensive about it. I think she would
Okay.
be pretty understanding, so just kind of let it happen.
Okay. So no rolls need to be made. So yeah, you
Okay.
grab her wrist.
And I'd probably just be flabbergasted a little bit and look at Korfel.
I forgot what she said. My brain just turned off.
She offered to. She said it was interesting, and she offered to help.
I'm not entirely sure what you believe you can assist with in this.
I'm really small and sneaky, so I'm pretty good at, investigating and, eavesdropping. I mean, I'm pretty sure I heard most of your conversation without any of you noticing.
You realize that none of that is a good trait, right?
It is if you're investigating.
I'd let go of her wrist. I think I just turn and keep walking.
Oh, shit. I don't say that out loud. That's just me. But no, I think Ikko would kind of step forward, not like reach for either of them after the brief interaction. but try to kind of get their attention. Like, hey, wait! Like, I really am interested in this case. I think everything seems very unusual, and you both
And-
seem kind of suspicious of the circumstances, and I would like to help this town by, figuring out what stone it was that he was talking about, because it also sounds dangerous to me too. That's why I spoke up about it during the trial before they hung him.
Do I believe her?
I was gonna say I think I would stop get down to her level, like go down on one knee, like get down on her face, kind of like narrow my eyes at her, and ask like, "Why do you even care?" And then would like to roll an insight check on her intentions.
Okay. Now, I'm going to send him a quick message. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
Whispers.
Okay. Go ahead and make your insight check.
Is that for Brielle?
Both of us, or just her?
I mean,
'Cause-
you can both insight if you wish. You can both insight, and then
Okay, because I'm just trying to decide if I believe her or not.
Got a nat 20.
a
Oh,
nat
jeez.
a nat. Oh, very good. Okay. So Ikko, I need you to roll.
Tell me everything.
Fuck.
So what exactly was Ikko lying about?
She's definitely interested in the investigation, but not necessarily to protect the town. She just wants to know about the stone because of potential profitable reasons.
Brielle with a nat 20. That's what you glean. It's like she does want to help, but not for the reason she said she did.
I think I would stand. I'd be like, "Stay there," and I'll turn. I'll kind of like pull Korfel aside and be like out of listening range, so potentially so they can't hear me. Like, hope I don't want her to eavesdrop again. So I'm trying to like whisper to Kor and be like, "They clearly want the stone, steal it for money. I obviously don't want them to do that, but it does give us an opportunity to put potential criminals away if we can catch them in the act while they're quote unquote helping us.
There.
We can two birds with one stone, as they say."
We also put ourselves at risk. We don't know anything about these two.
True. Where's your sense of adventure?
Back on the war front.
I wouldn't have called that an adventure.
Fine.
Worst case, we just lose them. Or I bet if we turn them in, they might even have a warrant already.
Bounty. Are we bounty hunters now?
Brielle, go ahead and make a stealth check. You and Korfel both.
Oh no. Well, so I have disadvantage on stealth because of my
I did
armor,
too.
but I'm not wearing my armor,
so
and this is not about armor.
Yes, this is not an armor stealth, so you don't have disadvantage on this one. This is not an
So
armor
how do
stealth. This
I?
is
Okay, normal roll with no advantage, right? Or do I have to click advantage to prevent disadvantage?
No, you just make it normal roll.
Not great. 12 and 11.
Okay, so
I am wearing my armor though. Hold on.
Oh, well,
But-
for your.
but-
It's not for
yeah,
your whispering.
Does your
okay.
armor talk? No.
No. Okay. Fair.
It creates an echo. It makes it louder.
Get a flappy
Ikko,
helmet.
your passive perception is 15, right?
My passive perception is 15. Yes.
I was
No,
asking Ikko. Sorry,
Sorry,
Brielle.
my apologies.
Oh, Sorry, passive perception is 14.
14.
Yeah.
So yeah, you. Even though they've stepped aside, your keen little doggy kobold ears, you just kind of like perk one ear and you hear the whole conversation.
Excellent.
Boo. Terrible.
But I mean, Brielle and Korfel don't know that. They just think that they're far enough away that they got away from him.
I was being intentional about that. And whispering. All right. Well, so then I turn back to Ikko. Now that we've pretty much agreed, like, okay, sure, why not? We'll have a fun little adventure here. Fine, you can come with us, but no funny business.
Or law breaking.
We know what your intentions are.
He says it very like
Yeah, when he says
like he's scolding a
agreed,
child.
like when he like pinpoints that at her, she's like hesitates for a moment and then is still like agreed again.
Can I insight check that? No, I already know that she's lying. I already know. I don't need to insight
I'm
check
doing
it.
my best. I don't even know if I'm lying.
That's fine. All right. What's your name?
I'm Ikko. This is Kubo. He is my adoptive brother.
I'm Brielle.
He's kind of dumb.
You didn't have to tell me.
I do, trust me.
No, I can pretty much see it on his face.
Oh, you're that observant. I got it. Okay. I mean, he's got a good face.
This is Korfel. Let's go. And I just
Hi,
turn and
Korfel.
start walking.
Oh, okay. Nice to meet you both. Bye. I'll just.
Korfel
follow
like
along.
very obviously motions for everybody to walk past him so that
Move
he can
ahead.
follow up the rear.
And I'll take the front. So they're between us.
How does Kubo feel about that? Like all of a sudden you're like sandwiched between two holy members of Halec.
Hey, wait.
He's totally lost. He has no idea what's happening.
No, she paid for innocence.
Is Kubo
She
saying
did
that?
what now? And Korfel's like he comes to a stop and he's like, she paid who for innocence?
No, she paid to keep her innocence. Or wait,
Somebody was
no.
trying to take her innocence? Korfel's more concerned.
No, wait.
So, Ikko like jumps up, tries to like put a hand over Kubo's mouth, but like she can barely reach.
Yeah, you're
And
like
she's like, "Hold on,
jumping,
hold on."
flailing
Lifting
your
his
arms.
chest.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's like, hold on. He's taking out of context. We arrived in port, and oh god, what was the guy's role?
Portmaster or something.
Yeah, he was the
Yeah.
portmaster.
Yeah, and the portmaster approached us and just assumed that we were nefarious of some sort and tried to bribe me to pay him. And so I did. And that's all. We didn't do anything. We weren't caught with anything. He like assumed that the halibut that Kubo was eating earlier was stolen.
Yeah, we
but
paid for that.
definitely paid for it. We did pay for that one. I gave the merchant. I can point you to where the merchant is, and he'll confirm it. But this guy
Do I
is
believe
always,
that they
like,
paid
trying
for
to
the
shoot us down.
halibut?
Yeah.
Do I believe their story altogether?
Yeah, you do. I mean,
Okay.
from
Like,
what you
I
know,
think we'd know that the Portmaster is probably, like, having been here this many times, we'd know he's shifty.
yeah, he's not a great guy. He does everything for money, and it's one of those things where it's like knowing that they mentioned the portmaster and them having a run-in with him, it's more than likely true. Like it's 99% chance it is true.
It gives me a slimy feeling like I need to do something about it.
Yeah, I think you and
because
I would,
it's
like,
not.
meet eyes and, like, kind of...
We're gonna file that information for
Mhm.
something to do later since we're already here.
Yeah. Bree takes out a notepad.
Can't just go taking people's innocence.
You can't say it like that.
There are much
Stop
better
talking.
ways to phrase that.
Ikko
And
just face
Korfel's
palms and like rubs the bridge of her nose, like, ugh.
No more talking from that one, please.
Korfel's like just sending a silent prayer into the sky. Like he's gonna need more patience than
Halec,
he's
save
ever
us.
needed in his life.
To be fair to Kubo, my new companions, that is how he phrased it. The portmaster wanted me to pay him to prove my innocence, so that's where he's getting that from.
All right, this is taking too much time. Keep walking.
Got it.
So, very quickly, what is everyone's passive perceptions?
15.
I want to start with Kubo. I want to start with Kubo because that laugh sounded like, well, if the numbers could be lower.
Well, let's see. Passive perception, you said?
Yeah.
That's a nice solid 10.
Okay. Ikko, yours is 14, you said. And Brielle's
Yeah,
yours is
14.
15, correct?
Now that I've said it 7 times, yeah.
Listen,
Throughout the game so far.
got it. Korfel.
Well, no, I know.
12.
12.
Um,
Go you and me, Ikko. We got this.
So between Ikko and Brielle, because unfortunately the other two, they're just not perceptive enough. But not that their numbers are bad.
This is why I took the front of the line.
So I'm assuming that because they're at the front of the line and Korfel's at the back, I would assume that Ikko tends to lead Kubo, right? So if you guys are walking single file or at least side by side, Kubo is behind Ikko. Is that safe to assume?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
90% of the time, that's going to be the case.
Okay. As you walk, the square begins to return to its rhythm, although there's a shadow of unease that lingers. The merchants resume their calls, townsfolk shuffle away from the gallows, and the air fills once more with the sound of daily life. Yet, amidst this normalcy, something shifts. And for Brielle and Ikko, there's a faint tug on your senses, as though the world itself briefly paused to draw a breath. As you're walking by the gallows, beneath the gallows, where the lifeless form sways gently in the breeze, there's a fragment of something strange. It sits undisturbed in the trampled dirt, a curved piece of stone that shouldn't belong there. Its surface is unnervingly smooth, bone white with crimson veins that twist and branch unnaturally, more like living tissue than mineral imperfections. It glints faintly, catching the light in a way that seems almost deliberate, though none of the bustling townsfolk glance its way.
I would start moving towards it. Not necessarily stealthily, but like not being obvious about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Ikko would as well. Like, if not at the same time, but like maybe slightly before or after, but pretty similar. Like, you know, with a passive perception of 14, she would probably notice that pretty easily as well. And, you know, kind of constantly observant.
Where you going?
Yeah, she'd probably go.
I pull
With
out like
Brielle.
a handkerchief or something out of my pocket to the intention to pick it up.
Okay. You go ahead and you take your handkerchief and you go to pick it up. Now you're larger than Ikko is, so you have to crouch to go under the gallows a little bit. Just because it's a sturdy built gallows. So you crouch to get under there. Ikko can actually just like walk under there if she wanted to.
I know, but I don't trust her.
I know you don't.
Yeah, I think realizing, like, Ikko realizing that she's not super trusted or like would be suspicious, she would let Brielle take the lead. Like, realizing that she also noticed it, she would let her go for it.
Okay. So
It's not like I have Akio random rock.
So even though you wrap it with your handkerchief, and Ikko's there among you also, the two of you feel as if this object is humming. It's not audible, but in the way that it just draws your attention. It's like whispering at the edges of your perception. And to the two of you, to anyone else, it would be nothing more than a discarded fragment of debris, easily overlooked and forgotten. But to you, it demands notice. It's an insistent presence that prickles at the back of your mind. It's one of those things where you notice it and the hairs on the back of your neck just kind of stand up.
I have a lot of those as a dog.
Yeah, there's plenty. Like your hackles are just up.
Yeah.
But the longer that you look at it, the clearer it becomes that this fragment is no ordinary stone. Its jagged edges suggest that it was probably part of something larger, a ring perhaps, broken with violent precision. And this is all through your passive perceptions, like unless you're like delving more into it, but this is what I'm able to give you. If this object were whole, it might span the width of a man's arm. But its thickness betrays a density and a weight that feels almost oppressive even from a distance. And the two of you like look over, you're looking for Korfel and Kubo, and I mean they're following, wherever you happen to go, but they don't perceive this the way that you do. And no one else seems to react. None of the townsfolk, not Kubo, not Korfel. No wandering eyes fall upon it. No curious children bend down to pick it up. It's as though the stone is hiding itself, cloaking its significance from the masses. Yet for reasons that you cannot fully explain, it calls to the two of you. And
Go ahead.
No, you're good. And in that moment, the accused man's final frantic screams echo faintly in your mind. It's mine! It's watching! The stone! The stone! His voice just continues to echo and linger.
I think I'd make like a brief eye contact with Ikko. Just kind of seeing like her hackles raised and knowing that we are both feeling this. I'd like to, I don't know if it would be like an insight or arcana or what, but I would like to try to see if there's anything else I can pull out of this. Like obviously it's got some kind of magic or something like that going on with it, but if there's anything else I could, obviously I don't have a spell or anything that would let me see into this, but.
Right. Are you trained in arcana?
I am not proficient, no. Because I'm obviously it's religion-based divinity versus arcana.
This is true. So you could make, if you're not trained in arcana, specifically because this seems to be something it's obviously giving off magical energy. It's enough to garner yours and Ikko's attention. Mm-hmm. You could make a religion check, if you wish, to see if it's something of religious significance.
Sure, I'll give it a shot. 14.
If this were a religious artifact, obviously it's been broken. It's, if it were whole, you could probably determine that it would be more powerful as a complete item as opposed to a broken one. But the fact that most artifacts or items, when broken, they tend to lose that. Like the mana disappears, the ether behind them fades, and they just become like a dormant item that is unusable to anyone with any magical aptitude. You seeing that there's still magic within this kind of pulls at you and tells you that should it be completed, it would be a very, very powerful item. But you're not sure if it has a religious significance without consulting someone of a higher power. Not necessarily your deity, but like, hey, someone else might know more.
Do I
think-
feel... Go ahead.
So I think that Ikko, also noticing that her and Brielle were the only ones who really seemed to notice this fragment, would probably offer to Brielle, like as she's kind of investigating it, she'd probably try to discern if Brielle was getting any sort of information from it, but if it didn't seem like there was anything significant that she had gleaned yet, would, speak up like, hey, Kubo's pretty good with magic stuff if you want me to have him come over here and check it out.
I think that she'd kind of give you her resting bitch face and then turn and go to Korfel and like hold the handkerchief open with just the piece on it in front of him so that he can see what I'm holding.
Okay, Ikko would probably sigh, but just not really say anything, just like kind of an exasperated, like, well, I tried, but I'll bite my tongue for now sort of situation and follow Brielle out from under the gallows and make sure Kubo is still present.
Yeah, Kubo's still there, I'm thinking.
Okay, so like now that it's in front of me, do I?
Oh yeah,
Like-
Brielle's drawn attention to it, so yes.
Okay, so
you
I
perceive
just
it.
wanted to make sure.
But does he feel that same kind of pull to it, or is it just a weird looking stone rock fragment thing?
Let me see.
Now that I'm looking at it.
Like the weeping angels when you see them. Don't blink.
Yeah. Well, considering that you are a paladin, you do have your divine sense. So,
I also have detect magic.
I mean, you could do detect magic if you want to do detect magic. As soon as you cast it, the thing just lights up like a Roman candle. Like it is glowing bright with magic. And normally you would be able to discern the type of magic, and the only answer I can give you is yes.
That's helpful.
Because as you're reading its aura and what's coming off of it, you sense enchantment, you sense transmutation, necromancy, divination, like all of these, and it seems to come in like waves. So if you think of a wave hitting the shore, eventually it washes itself back out to sea, and then another wave takes its place, and so on and so on and so forth. This is what you're getting off of it as you detect the magic off of it, is that there's this wave of, conjuration comes back, then abjuration fades back, necromancy, and so on and so, and it cycles through, and it's not one is more powerful than the other. Maybe there's a glimmer of more of one than the other, but this is definitely just linking to all forms of magic.
What do you make of it?
It's odd. It's very magical.
Tell me something I don't know.
It's all the magic, which I've never felt nor seen anywhere before.
All right, I think Brielle would turn and look to Ikko, and she would have her own kind of exasperated look. You said your friend can do magic.
Yes.
The dumb
I-
one.
I don't.
Yes, the dumb one.
I don't think this is a good idea.
I'm not gonna let him touch it. He can look at it and see if he can pick up anything. Yes?
Ikko would turn and look at Kubo, like, "Hey, can you examine this rock and see if you think anything strange about it?"
Okay.
Don't touch it.
No touch, only look.
All right.
So what does Kubo do with this in front of him? It's on a handkerchief in Brielle's hand.
I sink down to look at it. But what would I roll for this?
Well,
Spin-
are you trained in Arcana?
Nope.
Oh no, I thought he was. I'm sorry.
That is a sorcerer. He'd have Arcana too.
We made the class assumption, everyone.
You've done it. Gold stars for everybody. It's all right. I'm not trained in religion either, technically, so I don't know if I should have rolled earlier.
Nah, you're a cleric. I make you roll for religion, which means that you are a sorcerer. I'm making you roll for Arcana. So go ahead and roll Arcana, Kubo.
That's funny. That's funny. That's funny.
Nat 20. No.
Ouch.
Oh my god.
0.
This is not helping our case.
Nat 1 minus 1.
You wonder if this is the
pretty
rock.
rock.
You wonder if this is the rock that everyone's been talking about.
Yep. That's a rock.
Awesome. I take the handkerchief. I roll it back up. I roll it up in the handkerchief and I tuck it in my pocket.
Okay.
Let's just go to the site where he killed this man and see if we can find anything else.
Ikko is humiliated. But like she doesn't really she doesn't try to hide that she's humiliated. She's just kind of like, usually he's better than this. I'm sorry. I think it's just an off day for him. It's been a long time, but yeah, let's just go.
Yeah, Brielle's basically just ignoring you and walking at this point and just like, I knew this would happen. Why would I even? So
Yeah,
she takes
fair.
the front of the line again and just kind of leads to where the paladin earlier said the wild, crazy guy killed
So-
Bigger.
Before we move too far, while this is happening, while people are looking at it, other than Korfel, he most definitely is taking time to
Pray over.
check their surroundings. No,
I thought
he
you were
is
going to pray over the dead guy.
no,
No.
not really his thing.
He's also
Not that type of,
criminal.
not that guy kind of
That's fair.
paladin.
Yeah.
It's also he's a criminal, so I don't know. Again, another stupid assumption. Continue.
Yeah, he's like,
We're all
yeah,
racist
there's a
here.
dead guy. That's unfortunate. But anyway, so he wants to make sure they're not being followed any more than they already were by Ikko and friend. So yeah, he's a little on edge,
Okay.
I don't know if I can
especially after
offer-
feeling that kind of power from something. It raises his guard a lot, knowing that it wasn't just any rock. There's something to this crazy man's claims.
Okay. And as it should. Your divine sense is still up, right?
It lasts like a minute? Or no?
Well, we didn't do divine sense. We didn't really do that because he used
Yeah,
detect magic.
Detect
so.
magic.
Yeah, I didn't use divine sense. I used detect
Okay.
magic.
Okay. Well, then forget I said
Which-
anything.
Oh, well.
That's lovely. But I'm still looking for things actively.
Okay, you're actively looking for things. So Port
Could offer
Chester,
help action too, if
yeah,
necessary.
Port Chester is a large port city, probably one of the largest, at least that you're familiar with, from your home continent. And you go down the rows where where the High Marshal had pointed you, saying that this is where we found them. You know, here's this, here's that. And it looks like the spot's been cleaned. And when I say it's been cleaned, it's not been scrubbed or anything like that. There was no blood in this murder. Just, you know, one man with his hands around another man's neck. So that being said, like you look around the area and you see there are definite signs of a scuffle. I'm not going to have you guys roll this because you're going to be taking the time to look at it anyway. You see signs of a scuffle. You and you spend an inordinate amount of time here just trying to gauge, like, you know, where could they have come from, where did they go, what drew them to the alleyway, that kind of thing.
Cotton Eye Joe. Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
I was kind of leading to that one anyway. So you're all kind of like looking around. There's broken glass. It looks like one of the bottles was broken to be used as a weapon, but it never got that far. And as you're doing this, Port Chester begins to fall into an unnatural quiet as the sun starts to dip below the horizon. It paints the sky in streaks of deep purple and orange. And the day's events still linger in the air. It's very heavy and oppressive, as though the city itself is holding its breath. There's the faint sounds of moored ships swaying at the docks and the occasional murmur of voices as they pass by the alleyways or make their way out of the taverns in the tavern row. And whether in reflection of the execution or sheer exhaustion, the night just seems still. Too still. It's as if the world is waiting for something to stir. Eventually, your investigation comes up cold. And for Brielle and Korfel, who spoke to the High Marshal, when he said there was nothing really to investigate, it was pretty cut and dry, it's seeming as if it was very cut and dry. But the man speaking of this stone that was his and that someone was trying to take it from him, you Brielle, feel the object pulse. And Ikko, even though you're nearby, however close or far you are, you also feel it pulse. For Kubo and Korfel, Kubo, you don't have hair to stand up on the back of your neck, but your scales feel itchy. Your scales feel itchy. Korfel, you get that sense that something is happening.
I would kind of get... Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I kind of get into like a defensive stance, like feeling like something is coming, and I'll make eye contact with Korfel.
Which would prompt Korfel to pull his shield onto his arm and have at least his hand on his hilt. Like,
which, by the way, I already said I don't have my armor. I don't have anything because I was not expecting to fight.
Yeah, I'm aware. Thanks for that. So, Korfel just kind of lives in that existence.
He lives in the military shell of I need to be protected.
Yeah, he doesn't. He feels utterly naked without armor.
Oh, she feels that way, but she was trying to she's trying to not be owned by that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, Korfel has accepted.
She's struggling with that.
Anyway, so he's just trusting his gut, which he's learned to do. After years on the battlefield, he definitely pulls his shield from his back, and holds it. while he doesn't pull his blade out, he does drop his hand to the hilt.
Okay.
Just not, and he's hyper aware. He was already hyper aware once they found the stone, but now it's like
Now he's
it's
like
kind of
he's
like
electric.
they train truck drivers, like every other second your eyes have to flicker left or up, right, back. You know, like
Yep, you watch your mirrors, you make sure there's
Mhm,
nothing beside
mhm,
you. Yep,
mhm,
yep,
mhm,
exactly.
that's very much how he's currently acting, and he's even keeping a little bit of a closer eye on the two people he doesn't know. He's been through hell and back with Bree. He trusts her wholeheartedly,
Yeah.
no question. But these other two, he feels something in the air.
Mhm.
I think we would take just very familiar stances and like positions, looking
Yeah, I
for
think
something.
Ikko would do similar, where she's kind of like placing her hands on the daggers on each side of her hips, and like her ears would perk as she'd kind of like stand more at attention rather than like a casual stance. Just kind of listening for anything at that sensation. Her tail does not wag, Sean Black. She's very alert, so it's probably stiff.
Mhm.
Just shut up. But yeah, so she's like, especially like reading their responses and also like the sensation of just kind of the fur raising. Yeah, she would definitely be alert and like ready to defend herself if necessary.
Okay. And what about Kubo?
Picking his teeth with a fishbone.
I can't wait.
But it's that even even Kubo feels this, so gotta be pretty obvious. So he's sitting there. He's standing there wondering, like, feeling like something's either about to happen, or the oyster's trying to revisit.
The oyster's coming back. Return of the oyster.
Ready to
you
vomit
feeling-
or ready to fight? One of the two.
Either
Or
way,
both.
my tummy's upset. But
He starts scanning around.
as you guys are taking these stances now, the similarity between all of you now is actually kind of apparent, because where Korfel and Brielle, they come from training to expect things and to not get ambushed. In the same way, Ikko has trained herself to, she would keep her head on a swivel because they don't want to be caught doing the illicit things that they do, smuggling things, stealing things, and for a moment, you all share the same stance. You all share the same stance, the defensive stance of something or someone who knows that danger is near. And while the stance itself is not identical, they are similar. As the four of you are doing your investigation, and all of a sudden this feeling comes over you, there is a sudden crash. There's a deafening sound of splintering wood and shattering glass. A chorus of screams follows, and it's piercing, it's panicked, and it's cutting through the stillness of the air like a blade. Footsteps thunder past the alleyway in which you're in, accompanied by shouts of terror. Monsters! The docks! They're coming from the docks! And the clamor grows louder.
I pull my blade.
Quick question.
Yes.
Is the cricket also an inn, or is it just a tavern?
The cricket is just a tavern. The cricket is just a tavern, but there are inns along the row.
Because I feel like she would have been staying in an inn in Port Chester, which is where her equipment is.
Mhm.
So I'm wondering if I have time to run into said inn and throw on my stuff before running to the dock or the port.
That is up to you. The amount of time you are not able to measure.
Well, okay. But
So basically, what I'm saying is in panic situation where something is happening like this, you don't know how much time you have or don't have. So you would be gauging the importance of one thing over the other. Like if you need to go back and get your stuff, you can get it, but you don't know what's going to happen between now and then. You know, things could still be fine.
Is the inn on the way to the port?
Yeah.
How much time would it take to just run up and grab my hammer? Well, like, is it a turn, like based on turn base?
Well, okay, so we're
if
not.
I just grab my hammer and not bother putting on armor, because armor would take time, but grabbing just my weapon.
I mean, you could run in, and I mean, I'm not going to look at it as like the breakdown of turns, because each turn is 6 seconds. So it would take you a few moments to run in, push your way past people who are trying to get out, running upstairs, grabbing your stuff, and then coming back down.
Start running towards the port where they're calling monsters.
Okay. And as the clamor grows louder, the outside, the once peaceful streets are now churning with chaos. And for those of you who rush to investigate, the source of the disturbance reveals itself.
Real quick.
Yes.
I would like to pull the spare dagger that I keep on my person and pass it to Bree so she is at least armed.
I'm armed. I have magic.
So she's at least armed with something real.
As we're running, I will take your dagger.
In a combat situation, you know, having something to fight with is better than not having something to fight with.
I pass the dagger insistently and have pulled my sword out, and I'm fully equipped and ready for battle.
Okay.
Well, look. You can be mad about it all you want. There's nothing I can do about it now.
You should know better.
So
anyway,
the disturbance again reveals itself. There is a band of hideous creatures tearing through the crowd. Their hunched forms move with an unnerving primal energy. Their pale, sagging skin seeming to barely cling to their misshapen bodies. Their hollow, eyeless sockets sweep the streets as if sensing more than seeing. Their nostrils flaring as they track their prey. Each wielding crude weapons of stone and bone. Clubs, jagged axes, spears that gleam faintly in the dim torchlight, glistening with some unholy residue. And at its center, or at their center rather, one figure towers above the others, its presence commanding and undeniable. This creature holds a brutal metal club in one gnarled hand, the surface of said club coursing with erratic arcs of blue electricity that crackle and spark. The weapon illuminates the creature's ghastly face in harsh flashes, highlighting sharp, crooked teeth, bared in a snarling grin. It raises the club high, and the charge surges, emitting a thunderous crack that reverberates the narrow streets, sending nearby townsfolk scrambling in terror. But I think that this is where we're going to end for the night.
I knew you were going to do that to me.
And next session, we're going to start with initiative.
Oh boy, I can't wait to roll for that.
So yeah.
Oh boy.
I cannot tell you how hard I was laughing when I saw the armor class being calculated to a whopping 9 on my sheet when I was putting everything in.
Yeah, I think right now it's without armor. It's what your dex plus.
It's
It's
10
10
plus your
plus-
dex modifier.
Mhm.
So I'm 12.
You can literally just unequip it.
I could just equip it. Yeah, that'd be probably easier.
Just check the box and
Yeah.
it'll give you your AC.
Well, I also had a
D&D
shield
Beyond's
that
a
I'm
little
not
bit easier
wearing.
on us that way.
Yep, 12. Woohoo!
But
Better than 9.
friends, that is session 1 of this campaign that I hope my players enjoyed themselves. I want to thank them very much for their patience in what we've done tonight. And I want to thank some people here, since now I can address them. I can address everybody properly. Thank you, Stormy, for the raid. Thank you, Knights of Silvermoon, for the raid. Welcome. And thank you, Never Tilted, for the raid. But I hope my players enjoyed themselves. And this campaign is not a weekly campaign, for those of you who might be wondering, while I can talk about it here. We are planning for every other Thursday. So next session, from my understanding, is the 31st. No, it's the 30th. The 30th. The 31st, because it's already midnight. It's already past midnight for me. I'm living in the future. So the 30th is to be the next session. Is that correct? Barring any outside...
Barring craziness, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Indeed.
So we will resume at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Not next Thursday. Thursday the 30th. That should be easy for me to remember. Thursday to the 30th. But
I'll remind you.
Thank you.
Taco Thursday.
Yeah, Taco Thursday. Yeah. So, that being said, players, thank you.
Thank you.
I
Thank you.
want to thank all of
thank
you
you.
guys.
This was great.
I know session 1 tends to be a little wordy with me getting everyone introduced, so.
Oh,
Gotta set up all the backdrops.
Yep. Yeah, I got to make sure that when I put all the pieces on the board that everyone gets their moments.
Yep.
Aging.
And I knew that Ikko and Kubo were going to be together, so fantastic, awesome. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna mute Discord so that way I can say goodbye to chat and everybody, and we're gonna find someone to raid out to ourselves. So I want to thank my players once more. Thank you guys for putting up with me and enjoying hopefully enjoying the evening. Once again, thank you, raiders. Such wonderful groups of people coming in here, and I'm glad that you chose to spend your time here. Other than that, yeah, I'm gonna mute Discord, guys. If you have to go, I understand. So you don't have to stick around if it's super late for you or anything. But yeah, thank you guys. I'm muting them now. They're not talking to me. I'm muting them.
Quick, everybody speak so he can't think.
Oh no, I muted them. Oh no. And no need to be nervous there, Star. No need to be nervous. I'm happy you're here. So, friends, we are going to be back tomorrow. Well, I guess later today if you're on Eastern Standard Time. 7 p.m. Curse of Strahd. We're gonna see if the party can get out of the Amber Temple. Sean Black, thank you for the follow. Thank you. So let's see. I'm gonna find someone that we can raid into. Where are we going? We're gonna stick with some D&D. Let's see if anyone else is playing D&D. I have plenty of people that I follow, and one of them has to be playing D&D, unless I'm the only one. Probably am. I am. Okay, that's fine. We'll just search up D&D. No harm, no foul. The dragons. Let's see here. We could raid into Critical Role. No, I'm not gonna do that. That's raiding up, and that's not anything we need to be doing. Let's see here. It's the hardest part of any stream is finding out who to raid. Let's see. Someone else is doing a. Let's see. Dungeons and Dragons. Let's go. Tell you what, we're gonna hop in on Blackwater D&D. We're gonna raid it on Blackwater D&D. So friends, we're gonna go with a good old-fashioned Viking raid. If you don't have any emotes, use whatever emote you have. Just be polite, read the room, and as always, please be polite to the streamers we're about to drop in on. They might be in the middle of something and may not be able to respond to us right away. I'm sure they'll get to us if they can, when they can. If you like the streamers' content, please give them a follow. If you really like their content, give them a subscribe. You're not required to do either, but do remember, a follow is free. So we're gonna go ahead and raid in. We're back tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Curse of Strahd. And in the meantime, y'all, stay safe, eat well, stay hydrated, and I'm going to catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.